Oh, hi guys, and welcome to Word on the Street. I've been having a little think this morning because, gosh, I can't believe it's been 2.5 years that I have been recording what I hope is a fantastic and helpful podcast for all of you guys out there that really focuses on how businesses can attract and win more new business. And I was thinking about how I kind of used to be quite staged at the beginning. Maybe you guys couldn't hear it, but I would often be reading these intros and outros from, some kind of crib sheet, Word doc, whatever. And now I am a much better freestyler in life. I am not someone, I do plan, and I am quite organised in some ways, but when it comes to stuff like this, I am just so much better when I show up and I'm authentic and I'm real. So I hope you guys can hear it. To some of my listeners out there who have been with me from day one, I hope that comes across, and I hope you enjoy listening to the podcast more nowadays than you do at the beginning, and that I'm a better host and better to listen to. So with that, I've had an amazing, very honest and brilliant podcast recording that I've just popped off today. It's full of insights. It kind of is a little bit of a therapy session for me, if I'm honest. So I have been chatting with the fantastic Sabrina Chevannes. I should have checked with her how to say her name. Let's just say Sabrina, who is founder of Complex Creative, also known as the No Bullsh agency. And she and I have just shared so much. It's a really challenging time out there. I'm just going to be honest. Life is tough. Even, the last 3 years has been incredibly tough. We've been through a pandemic. We have now hit a cost of living crisis and recession. The world feels like it's upside down. Like at the point that I'm recording this, we are having the World Cup happen in December with all sorts of, things socially that just don't seem or fit quite right. It's Christmas. We've got a cost of living crisis. The world is crazy at the minute. So Sabrina and I, we weren't really talking about that, but we're unpacking just some of the challenges and the things that happen when you're running any kind of business, specifically for us, obviously both running marketing agencies. And some of the things that you need to do to run it more authentically, stay resilient, exist, evolve, change, and hopefully grow and, be a nice person. Let's be honest, grow as a person and grow as a business. Let's talk about that. So it's a great podcast. I hope it isn't too hard to listen to, because we do have a right old chinwag and get quite passionate at some points, which I'm hoping is going to make it more fun. So go have a listen. Let's go meet Sabrina. And I really hope that you enjoyed today's podcast, guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Word on the Street. And you know what? I am such a big believer in, maybe I'm slightly more holistic than I realised, in everything happening for a reason, the world taking you on certain journeys. And Sabrina and I are going to have a fantastic chat about that. But we're also, and this podcast, Sabrina, how many times have we moved this podcast?
A lot.
Yeah, 3 or 4 different times. And we're talking about how to be resilient and take no shit. And both of us have had interesting journeys on that this year. But I also, and I haven't told you this yet, Sabrina, sorry, we were having a little chat offline before. I was like, Sabrina, we need to press record because all the gold is coming. I'm talking about resilience at Google HQ on Monday.
Oh my God, that's so exciting.
I know.
That is something to celebrate over the weekend about, that's a good little achievement there. I love it.
And it's up for their Grow Your Careers Week at Google. So I'm going to be broadcast to like Google globally, which I think is about 5,000 people in the UK. There's about 350 people going to be in the room. It's very exciting.
That is hugely exciting. I'm so impressed. Well done.
Thanks, darling. Kind of came off the podcast because a guest of mine on the live audience pod we did recently is the in-house speaking coach at Google. So she invited me on. So look at that.
Love that. It shows you that podcasts are awesome, and look what opportunities they can open up for you.
Exactly, guys. Go and do your own podcasts. So let's talk about Sabrina, less about me. Sorry, just showing off at the beginning of the pod. So we're going to really dig into resilience today. But of course, there's going to be a lot outside of running your own business and what you've been doing over the past few years that has built you up to be the amazing and the resilient woman that you are today. Can you tell us a little bit more about Sabrina?
Where do you want to start?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I've had a really random sort of journey to agency world as well. Mine definitely isn't a normal path. And it's funny to my resilience because it's also interesting how people perceive you from the outside. And so many people say that to me. They're like, you're so strong, you're so resilient, it's amazing. Like, no matter what adversity you face, you always find your way through it. And I feel like a broken shell of a person half the time. And I'm always like just crying inside, thinking, oh my God, what's wrong with me? And everyone's like, you're so strong. And I was like, wow, it's so different, the perceptions that people have of you, right? And I don't know, I guess my journey is really, quite random. So I started off leaving school and went to medical school. And so that's nothing to do with agency world. I genuinely wanted to be a doctor. My whole family are doctors. And I was like, yes, that's what I want to do too. ER looks fun. Casualty looks fun. That was basically my life. And I was like, right, I'm going to do this. I didn't. To be fair, I love medicine still. I love the topic of medicine. But if you're an entrepreneur, you know that you have to be in a certain kind of job and medicine is not it. Like, as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for that new opportunity. You're always looking to do something with your life, up yourself in some way. And there was absolutely no room for that in the medical world. So you can't do anything like that. And I feel like those who are a bit more entrepreneurial, who are doctors now, are kind of branched off to doing books, are doing kind of their own thing. And, I think that when I started, I'm probably a lot older than I look. So I went to med school in 2005, which feels like ages ago. Yeah, I know, right? So it feels like a lifetime ago. And I swear that sort of stuff wasn't as normal. Like, entrepreneurship wasn't as big. It definitely, I didn't think, I'll go to med school and then write a book and then go on TV and do all that sort of stuff. That wasn't a normal sort of path. So whilst I was at med schools when I first started my first company, and I just started teaching when I was there. I was broke ass student, basically living in London, from Birmingham as well. So that was a bit of a hit. I was like, it's how much for a drink in London? So everything was so expensive. And I just went out and just started doing my own thing, earned a fair bit of money, and then turned that into a business, and then used all the design skills I had from school, the pirated Photoshop copy that I always had and stuff like that. And then basically started doing my own stuff around that. So I ran a teaching agency first. And that was my first business, and I was doing that, and then I wanted to get more business for that, so I kind of learned a bit more about marketing, and then it was I did my own website, all that sort of stuff. And then as I was doing that, everyone was like, "Love your website, can you do mine?" Started doing friends and families ones, then started freelancing. I was full-time teaching at this point. I left med school basically to pursue this because I was earning way more money than I ever would as a doctor. And at the age of 21, 22, that's attractive. Did that, left, pursued that as a career, and then just loved the creative side of things that I was doing so much that I ended up freelancing, doing that alongside teaching. It was so random. And that was I guess 2008. And basically 14 years later, I've been still done. Well, I guess I started freelancing for about 5 years and then turned that to my first agency. And then somehow here I am now, still running an agency, and it's still my career. So it's a really, really random path to agency world, but that's how I took it.
But everyone's path is random to a certain extent, I guess, isn't it? And all of those experiences will give you a really diverse view on our industry as well and how to approach things. I think having a slightly different, we talk a lot about diversity, but actually your experiences in your work life also influence how you think and you approach things. And I think that probably gives you a real edge, which is, also going to help you with your resilience, because you've got all this, all these different things that you'll have learned at med school, and all these different things that you'll have all these different things that you'll be able to pull in at the right point that will help you deliver better quality ideas for your clients.
Yeah, and I think that when it comes to agency world, part of me feels like I'm so disadvantaged because I've never been in an agency, so I don't know what it really looks like. But as you said, there could also be an edge there, and I do think that our agency is so different from others, mainly because I haven't got a big agency to model it on, but also just because I have created an environment which I think that would be nice for people to turn up to and work in. And I'm not trying to copy an old model, which actually may be wrong. It's just traditional. It's been there like that for years and years and years. And people will always do that. They'll try to copy things that have been around forever and ever. But just because they work in themselves and are traditional doesn't mean it's the right way to do things. It doesn't mean that there aren't better ways out there to do things. And so in some ways I don't have that holding me back. And so I'm open to all sorts of new opportunities, and I have a completely open mind when it comes to running a business and running an agency. So there definitely are pros and cons.
Yeah, and I just love everything about your agency. So let's talk about you today. And I guess what would also be really interesting for the listeners is the story, or not just our listeners, I'm really interested in this, is the story of when you started the agency to today. So you're currently branded and called Complex Creative, but as I can see on your lovely signage behind you, you're kind of known as the No Bullsh agency. Yeah. So talk me through, you've just talked about, I guess, how you, let's start with how you came up with the concept and what you do as an agency.
Yeah, definitely. Because that all kind of goes back to where I sort of left it off actually on the story, which is interesting. So I was freelancing for a long time, so about 5 years doing this sort of stuff. And then typical kind of journey from freelancer to agency was just that. Had lots of clients, which was great, was overwhelmed, and then decided to hire some people to help me out. So essentially I created an agency, and I was sitting there thinking, what's the best name for this agency to describe what we do? And we did design, development, and marketing. We're pretty much doing everything. And I decided to call us London Creative Designs, because I was like, that would be great for SEO. and it was, don't get me wrong. It is exactly what people search for. And we had tons of people coming to us, and it was a great name. And so we were called London Creative Designs for 6 years. But we looked like every other agency out there. We did the same sort of, our branding was a little bit different, but when you come to our website, we were the classic award-winning full-service creative agency, like every other award-winning full-service creative agency out there. And, we did the same things. It was all like, we catered for everyone and anyone, because I thought that that's how you got business. It was like, oh yeah, we can do that. We can do that. Like, yeah, totally take on your work. And that quickly became a freaking nightmare. And I realized that actually majority of those clients weren't the right fit for us. It'd be just so stressful dealing with them. And I'd always be in this price war with all the people who were lowering their prices. And I'm like, okay, fine, we can lower our prices too. They end up doing a website for $1,000 or something stupid. And then, not making any money off it. They treat us like crap, and we're just so miserable and stressed from the whole thing. And this is what I did for 6 years, basically. I didn't really have any sort of prior understanding, and I think I just kind of fell into running this business and just plodded along. And I was able to pay my staff every month, don't get me wrong. We were in a cool WeWork office. We were classic agency lifestyle. We were out drinking all the time, we were traveling, we looked like a funky cool agency, but really inevitably we weren't. We were dysfunctional. We didn't really have an identity. We didn't know who we were. How would you refer business to us? They would refer to us because maybe they liked me or something, and they knew we did certain stuff, but there was no real kind of identity. And I think it was May 2019. Well, it was all of Easter 2019. And I remember having a client, and I hadn't slept for 4 days, and it was Easter holidays, and he was making me work through the whole Easter weekend. And then he was phoning me, messaging me, going you need to do this, you need to do this. And I was like, look, I don't think I can even function right now. Can I just go to sleep, please, for a bit? And then I'll wake up and do it tomorrow. And he was like, absolutely not. I remember him being like, absolutely not. You are not allowed to sleep. And bear in mind, by the way, this was another agency owner who'd outsourced the work to me because they were a branding agency, and they'd charged this client loads of money, and they were charging us pittance for it, and they were just basically abusing us. They were horrible. And we had 2 or 3 clients at the same time around this time, and it broke everyone. I remember doing an event at work, and then they were calling the office, and my colleagues were like, no, she's in an event. They're like, take her out the event and we need to speak to her. And they were so disrespectful. And I was like, okay, I can't deal with this. And I remember in May, took a week off and was like, I need a break. So I went on holiday with my friend. It was fantastic. Came back and was like, right, I'm done with the agency. And it was funny because I told the girl who's now my number two, like she's been with me like nearly like 4.5 years now. And she was with me at the time. And I said, I just can't. And she was like, I get it. It's been crap. I was like, I'm not ready to give up agency life, but we just cannot run the agency like this. And at that point, I think I decided that we were going to do something about it. And it wasn't until December that we decided. We were brainstorming, we had a whole thing. We decided on the name Complex Creative, because we wanted to kind of have something that was a bit of a juxtaposition. It was like we do complex things, but we make it simple, and our whole thing was going to be like really, really transparent. And, you know, we were saying that we wanted to do it. We wanted to rebrand, wanted to start fresh, wanted to just completely just close that chapter and become a whole new identity. And we were like, what is our identity? Who do we want to be? And I remember we spent like weeks on a sofa in our WeWork office, just like trying to work out who we are. And the amount of clients that came in and were like, oh, I just love that you're just no bullshit. Like, you know, the way you are with us, you just say things how they are. And like, you know, there's no jargon, there's none of that, just no bullshit. And they said it so many times. And I was like, that is who we are. And then we decided at that point, we're going to be the no bullshit agency. That is what we're going to be, because what was our pet peeves? And we went through it. It was actually a really interesting time. I took the team out for Christmas dinner. And because we were basically completely changing entities, and we were taking the whole team with us, but I took the team out for Christmas dinner, and only Rochelle knew about the change at the time. And I was like, got some bad news for you. You're all fired. And they were like, what? And then I was like, but the good news is you're rehired. But we're under a different name now. And they were like, what? Doing this at Christmas dinner? Like, it was just really funny. But yeah, it was mental. And we just changed everything about us, and it just kind of fit. And we were talking about the pet peeves that we have. And the biggest pet peeves were that other agencies would just be full of shit. Like, they would just straight up lie to clients. And we were so sick of it. Like, the amount of people that came to us with the line of, we've just been ripped off by our agency, so we're trying to find another one. Like, it was just ridiculous. And we were just like, right, I'm so sick of the bullshit in the marketing sector that we're just not going to do that. We're going to be a new agency. We are going to be the no bullshit agency. We're going to be a bit edgy, and like, we're going to have, so we looked at all our clients as well, who are the ones that treat us like crap. They were mainly like the corporate stuck up kind of people. There were kind of middle-class white males, annoyingly. We did look at that. They were all kind of in that category. And so we were like, right, how do we brand ourselves to like find the right sort of client? So again, we created a bit of a more of an edgy brand, very different, definitely stood out from all the other websites out there. And we just put straight on the front page, the no bullshit agency. And people come there, and not everyone likes it. But those who don't like it, oh, that's unprofessional, are immediately filtered out as not the right fit for clients. And we got to this point where we were able to basically pre-qualify anyone that came to our website. And so those who go through and saw our tone of voice and understood that we were a little bit different and go through and send an inquiry are more likely to become clients now. And so we've done this whole pre-qualification by our own branding. And we've had loads of like good and bad things against it. But the point is, we know that as an agency, our mission is to drive more transparency into the marketing industry, because it is just full of shit. And we're so sick of all the other agencies doing that. We went on a joint pitch like a year ago with another agency, and they just straight up lied through the whole pitch. And I was like, it was so awkward, because when they went to ask me a question, I didn't know what to do, because I wanted to tell the truth. But then he's there looking at me, and I'm like, so I had to like skirt around it because I didn't want to lie. And then I called him out at the end of it. I said, look, why? He goes, oh, by that point, we'd have taken most of his money anyway by the time he finds out. And I'm like, are you actually kidding me? We won that pitch, and we would have had a chunk of the 40K project it would have been. So it would have been about 20K for us, a bit less, I think. And we turned it down because we just couldn't deal with it. And that's the sort of thing that that we're sick of seeing and the sort of thing that we want to call out in the industry. And that's basically the longest version of an answer that I could give you about how we became the No Bullshit agency.
I love it though. And honestly, Sabrina, you are such an inspiring woman. And
Aww.
I want long answers because this podcast is all about you, baby. Today is all about you. So I've got a few questions and I'm going to be mean and ask tough questions. And you can tell me that you don't like them if you want. But I feel like because you're No Bullshit, you're going to give me all the answers.
It's off if I don't want to answer.
Yeah, you're either going to tell me to do one or you're going to answer. So I remember you and me catching up at a BIMA event. Was it last winter? No, winter before? I don't know. COVID-y, but when we were allowed to get together, they did this big dinner. Was it like a year ago?
Oh, that was a big BIMA lunch. Yeah, that was maybe a year and a half ago.
A year and a half ago, yeah. I feel like it was, maybe it was like coming out of lockdown, like March.
Yeah,
April,
I think it was like May 2021 or something.
Yeah, there we go. So I remember then you being like, oh yeah, no, we're really small. We're only sort of 4 people, but had you just gone through this change then? I remember you telling me about your new proposition to market because you were talking about your team. Just want to give everyone listening context. So you were about 4 people or were you bigger at some points?
Yeah, we were bigger. So we basically kept fluctuating somewhere between 4 and like 9 at some point. But like, I think when I spoke to you, so we basically rebranded and we launched the new brand in March 2020, but then COVID hit. And then obviously that was the worst timing ever. And we just about managed to survive COVID from our retained clients that we had from London Creative who just carried through. And so we basically didn't really start. So when I saw you in May 2021, it was probably about the sort of time because we were coming out of lockdown that we were able to actually start really being Complex Creative and being the No Bullshit agency because we actually hadn't really had the chance to go out there as this new brand. So, and at that point, I think we were down probably to about 4 to 6 people is where we were fluctuating around that time. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing because the changes that you've been, I mean, I guess that's what I'm digging into here is the changes and the bravery that you've had to evolve your business because business is tough. And I can tell you, I mean, it's some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about at Google on Monday. I have had many times this year where I'm not someone that gives up, but I have almost felt like giving up. Like this has been a really hard year. It's not been easy and I won't give up. And it wouldn't be like we're going, it would be like, exactly like you were saying, there's something not quite working here and I feel like I need to make a change. And that often, sadly, like you say, does come down to clients, that don't get it or that aren't the right fit for us anymore or aren't, because we have got clients that let us do our job properly, that trust us, that we're really honest with. We do the best work. Like we put on 2 events for clients last week, 2 totally different clients. Just for those 2 clients, we've locked in about 20 meetings in the space of a few days.
God.
Yeah, and I'm talking with mega brands, people like Skyscanner, Philips, Bumble, like the huge, and really senior, often C-suite people at these brands. So when we do good work, we're connecting the businesses, the agencies, the tech companies that we work with the businesses that they want to work with, and we do brilliantly. But we've got some clients who want to change everything, they want to see everything, they don't trust us, and it's so hard for us to get the breakthrough. So I do feel your pain. And then of course staff and everything else that also can, there's so many things you've got to think about when you're MD running a business. It is really, really stressful. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you, just because I'm being cheeky, is, so you said you fired and hired everyone. Did you actually start a new business? Did you close your business down and restart a brand new? So closed your limited company down and started a new one?
Because, I don't know what you want to ask me, but because we had an accountant at the time as well who screwed us over as well and stole us loads of money, and then we had all these other crap going on and we were like, I just don't want anything to do with that company again. And I wanted to basically completely start fresh, which was
hard. Feels good.
But it felt right. Yeah,
definitely. Okay. I mean, not that necessarily bears any reason, but I just wondered if there was a reason. I almost am with you on that. When you're starting something new, even without the arsehole accountant, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
And I've got a lovely accountant. I'm very, very lucky, who gives me great advice and loads of, extra stuff that I probably don't pay for, which I'm incredibly grateful for. But it is really hard running a business. And I think anyone who's listening who is a business founder or on a leadership team is going to concur with this. You have to make some really tough decisions. So Sabrina, well done for being incredibly brave to make those decisions that have got you where you've got to today. Because sometimes in the thick of those dark, deep times, when you're really stressed out, you can see a way out, but it feels really hard to get there. But I do think, and I'm thinking a lot about this at the moment, that those really tough times actually help us grow so much more. And the business that you've built today, from green roots, from all of those learnings and everything that you'd experienced at your old business, have really helped you today build Complex Creative into the business that it is. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, it has, and I think that as well. And I mean, like, we could have carried it on, and there would have been so much benefit to carrying it on. And like I was saying, with that beautiful SEO name, with all the traffic we were getting to the website, we should have really done more with that. But I just didn't want any association with it. I was just like, I'm done. Like, paid someone to wind that down, to close it all down, do all that kind of stuff, and I just didn't want anything to do with it. And I was like, I'm starting a new chapter in my life, and this is the only thing I care about. And it was about, building up this brand, which was really hard, like I said, because we were launching it. It was March the 8th, 2020 is when we put the website live, and we're like, guys, we got this new brand. And then the world went to shit 2 weeks later. And, it was so, I was like, are you actually kidding me? And I just didn't know what to do. It was like, you spent all that time, like I said, it's a big decision, like deciding that you're completely shutting down one company to start another. And I had other staff that I had to care about as well. Like, so it was, I had to make sure I had to pay them because they were also going through crap. And I was like, it was hard, but I'm so glad, like I said, all that stuff is done for a reason, and I'm still here now, so I'm grateful for everything that I've kind of gone through to learn from as a result, basically.
I mean, to me, in my head, the hardest part of that decision, if it was me, and I have at occasions at Street thought about, right, we need to do a reset and maybe not close the company and start a new one, but totally change, how we work or the kind of people that we need. And, that is a business. It changes all the time. You can't just sit still and stay the same thing forever. And sometimes that scares people. And I think the biggest hurdle to overcome in that is how you nurture your team and your staff. So how did you approach that?
It was so tough, like, cause I remember it so well, like, cause of lockdown as well. Like, it was also just weird timing because we were moving companies. We also were like changing the lease on our contracts with the office. And so we're in between, and we were kind of like hot desking different places. And we were somewhere, and we were like, oh, this madness of like this weird virus is going around. Let's just go home and, reconvene on Monday. And then obviously we were like locked out by Monday, and we were like, who knew that was going to be the last time we saw each other for months? And it was so weird. And yeah, like I remember just, we were all kind of logging on to Zoom, and it was fine. And, when you have a team that's been working next to each other for, we were together maybe a year at least, all of us minimum, for, right next to each other, each other pretty well. And everyone thought, oh, this Zoom thing's really easy. But it was quite clear after a couple of months that everyone was kind of down. And, we had one of our team members really, really suffering. Like he was living in a situation where he didn't enjoy. He was really down. And, I actually had to get him to speak to one of our clients who's a therapist. And, they had to have sessions together. And it was a really tough time for everyone. And obviously, for me as the business owner, not getting in as much business as before, I then actually compromised on my values. The whole purpose of like what we started the new business for was that would be really selective over our clients, not take any shitty clients on, and do all that sort of stuff, and make sure, like, for example, we have a zero tolerance policy against disrespect to our staff. So basically any client who's ever disrespectful to our staff is immediately fired as a client, basically. Like, that is our zero tolerance policy because of the way that people used to speak to the staff back when we were London Creative, and I just not tolerant to it. But during COVID, I felt, we just need to take money in. So I started to accept business everywhere, like the cheap crap that was coming in, like just all these people. And again, it was like they were really rude. I was literally getting screamed at on calls. Like it was so demoralizing. And I was like, why am I doing this? This is exactly what I started not to do. Like, because a pandemic was happening, I was just freaking out. I think I didn't I've only just sort of, I guess, reset the business, started afresh, thinking I'm going to do this properly. Everything about this new business, I want to do it properly. Like, learn how to run a real business, not just rent a nice office, have some staff and go out drinking and call that a business, because frankly, that's what I was doing. And, I wanted to do this properly, but, then the pandemic hit and I just panicked and I didn't know what I was doing. And I just started to compromise all my values. And slowly but surely, we did a couple of clients who were horrible nightmares. And also everyone else was moaning that they had no money. So I felt guilty and was doing things cheap and all this sort of stuff. And then I had to stop. So by the end of the summer, I had to stop again. I was like, no, we can't do this. And so, some of the staff had to be furloughed and we got through it. And, I just basically reached out to all our old clients and lots of them got back in touch with like, actually, this is a great time for us to kind of work with you again. And actually, it's really nice. All the clients I did stuff for freelance with, and even though they were much cheaper, they were nice and respected me for all those years. And we got through it and it was good. And do you know what? All those guys that were there at that beginning, they're still with me today. So something went well, they're still here and they're still on the team. And that in itself, I think I'm super proud of, to be honest. Like when I think back about everything and everything everyone went through as a business, like 2.5 years later, after a pandemic and now a recession and all this crisis, I still have those members of staff still full-time employed on my payroll, and they're all getting paid more than they were, and I'd like to obviously pay them more if we could, but it's great. I feel for me that in itself is a huge achievement, and I have to keep reminding myself that, like when times are tough, I have to keep going back and be like, look, I survived that. I kept all my staff. They're still on the payroll. They all have jobs. They are all surviving this cost of living crisis because I've managed to do that as a business. So that has to be something I have to be proud of, and I have to keep holding on to those sort of positive things no matter how crap everything else is. And so I do go back to that and remind myself that actually that was a good thing.
Hey guys, just interrupting very quickly because I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you about Tamba. If you're enjoying today's podcast, I know you are going to love the Tamba platform. Tamba is full of all the insights, hints, tips, and fantastic content and training and templates and events that you need to enable you to attract and win more new clients yourselves. If you enjoy the podcast, it's this kind of content that you'll be able to see, get more of, save to your profile, work through training programs with some of my fantastic guests actually. So if you haven't checked it out already, please do www.tamba.io. That's www.tanba.io. Go have a look. I hope you love it, and I hope to see you at some of our online events very, very soon. Yeah, it's so tough though, Sabrina, and I can really concur with this because let's just be honest, we're swearing lots today, so I'm just going to keep going with that theme. People can be arseholes, and that's across, it doesn't matter whether you're a client, you're a staff member, you're an owner of a business, people out there are arseholes. Not everyone, and I believe most of the time, there's obviously a reason, you've got to be understand that there's a reason that they're not being nice, or there's there's some kind of desperation in them, or some ego thing that from some kind of damage that they've experienced. So I always try and look at it like that, and I've always tried to be really kind to my staff, really kind to my clients, really open, really honest, be fair. I've had clients where they've been, we had a thing recently with a couple of clients, and human error. Our contracts are always have been, apart from maybe the first 6 months of street, always 90 days rolling notice. It's kind of enough flexibility to, for us, because we pay for technology and other things on behalf of our clients. But 90 days rolling contract, you're not fixed in for a year, you're not fixed in for a period. If you're on a retainer with us, you can give us notice at any point and it will give us a 90-day rundown, which gives me enough time as a business to stay resilient and be able to replace that client, because that is a fact of how you run an agency. But we've had clients that have come to us, and in one of these contracts it said 90 days in one bit, and then in the T's and C's, hidden right down somewhere, it said 30 days. A couple of clients, most of them were happy to meet in the middle. One wasn't. That client, sorry, I hope they're not listening, but maybe they are, and maybe it's good if they are, also then went on to take a staff member of mine, which maybe wasn't done in that way, but I was really kind to them and they argued the toss with me. I let them have the 30 days, and in the background they were effing me over, let's be honest. And however nice you are to other people, unfortunately not everyone treats you with the same kindness and respect that you treat them. But I am never going to change that. That is who I am. I will always be kind and respectful. To be honest, don't want to work with clients like that anyway, or people like that. If you're that underhand, as a staff member or a client, that isn't good for me. That's not a nice way to approach business. Open, honest, kindness is how I try. I'm sure I make mistakes, definitely. I've been stressed, it's not easy, but I try to have empathy for other people, and I try to do something that is fair in most situations. Unfortunately, not everyone is the same, and we've got values around that. In fact, we're looking at our values at the moment. And hopefully we will, be able to kind of reinstill that in the agency in a kind of new way, as we're having a little bit of a rebirth, not quite as major, but we're evolving as a business. We're going in the direction that I want us to go in. And I think your values, and therefore your clients matching those values and your staff matching those values, are hugely important to building the right type of business, because you'll actually have to be less resilient as a business, because you'll have the right clients who understand who you are and why you were. And I'm seriously thinking about, when we bring on a new client, sending them some kind of like handbook, like, this is who we are. As part of the new business process, we are going to have it in our decks, in our proposals, maybe even our contracts. Like, this is who we are. This is how we like to treat others. This is how you need to treat us. So, because if it's not right for them and they don't like that way of working, like, things that you can't do are including, I don't know, making 5 changes to one email copy, like, because we do a lot of email marketing. No, that is, you're taking all the personality out of it. You're ruining the essence of what we're trying to do, and we won't get you the results. So I'm really going to be quite strict about, and I do try to qualify in the new business process, but it's hard sometimes. I've had one really bad client once who, honestly, I think he just couldn't afford us, and he tried to do everything he could to wriggle out of his contract. And we'd done a really good job. On the first day that we started working with him, when he was signing his contract, we introduced him to an opportunity at Joe Malone, which I think he went and won. But within 3 months, he was complaining about things that weren't even happening, trying to wriggle out of his contract. Like, honestly,
that one win has probably paid for his entire contract.
I know. And you're like, but people just aren't nice and aren't honest. And do you know what? If they're like that, I don't want them anyway.
No, exactly. And I think that you just remind me of so many. I've had such bad times from previous clients, because we do a lot of pro bono work for charities as well, and so we just get loads of calls, people just exploiting us, and they're not even like trying to work with us. But we even had a charity, and they were on a paid retainer, but it was reduced because obviously we do charity rates. And this woman was so nasty. So like, it was supposed to be like paid on the 1st of the month, and then a certain amount of hours, and we'd used up all the hours, but like on the 28th, it was over a weekend as well, she was like, oh, but we need this by like Monday. And I was like, I know we haven't, I know I'm due to pay in 2 days anyway, it will come out, but just like, can you do it over the weekend? Rush. I basically spent 15 hours over the weekend to design her all these like books and brochures that she needed for her charity. And then on Monday, she cancelled her direct debit. and took all the work, basically like a 3 months work so the 15 hours are free, and then said, oh, we're cancelling the contract. And then obviously I'm not going to try and charge for that 1 month. So they've tried like dirty, straight up, and she did it on purpose. Obviously she knew what she was doing. And it's about the contracts. We have all of that in our contracts, by the way. We literally have.
Love that.
All the revisions. We say, like, you know, you can change, you know, revisions and stuff, but you can't change your mind. You will have to pay for a new like decision if we've gone down on work. The no respect thing, we do have the right to fire you if you disrespect our clients. We have all of these clauses in our contract. Our contract is actually ridiculously long, and everyone's like, oh, that puts people off. So when I first changed our contract, so again, part of the whole new Complex Creative, we changed all our contracts. It's mega long, but it has every possible clause in it that we could think of every problem we ever had in London Creative. And we did have one person basically going, what the hell is this contract? I'm not signing it. I'm like, it's so long. It's like a government contract. And I was like, okay, but, you know, and I was worried. I was thinking, oh, maybe we should do a shorter contract. And she was like basically giving us all this abuse. And I realized the way she was talking to us, actually, she's a freaking nightmare. And she would have been a nightmare client. So actually this contract is another pre-qualifier for who the arsehole clients are. And do you know what? Since that day, every single person we've ever sent the contract to has never pushed back on it. Maybe there's been a couple of things people go, oh, can you change this? Can you change this? And I think there's a couple of things which says if you don't pay your contract, we'll add on this fee. And they're like, that's a bit of the reason why I'm like, okay, fine, take it out. I'm never going to do it anyway. But the point is, I know that when I receive a long contract, I scan through to see if there's anything screwing me over. But if there's other stuff which are just like, if you don't pay your bill on time, I will slap on a £200 late fee. I'm like, I don't care, because I'm not going to not pay my bill on time. I know I'm not a dickhead, so I'm fine to sign this contract. So I do that. I now leave this contract there because anyone who's really funny about it is probably going to screw you over. Like, if you don't care and you're going to be a nice person, you probably just sign the contract and not look at it. Loads of people just sign it and don't even read it. I know they don't read it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm not really going to enforce anything if they're reasonable people. And you know that. It's a mutual respect. So again, all of this is pre-qualifying for dickhead clients. And since we've been Complex Creative, we've had one dickhead client. That's it. And I think that's incredible. In all the years now, we've been doing it, it's coming up to 3 years now. And in 3 years, we've only had one dickhead client. That's it. And that's because it came right at the beginning, and actually it was a trickle on from the old business. And so that client came from the old business, really. So technically, we haven't had anything since we've done all this pre-qualification in terms of through our website and our messaging, in terms of through the new terms, in terms of like, you know, how we are as people. Even when we do like intro calls and stuff, we're so laid back, we're so chill, like it's all normal. Like even we just go for a coffee, we go to the pub, we just go to like chat, and that's how we conduct our meetings. We set a tone and a precedent of how we work as a business. We are laid back, we are friendly, so it's a really collaborative, relaxed process. If they don't like that, then they know from the get-go, so they're not going to suddenly change it. If they're really, really corporate and need all this red tape, then we're not the type of agency for you. And so I think by putting all these things in place, we've managed to like cut out all the nightmare clients. So I'm really happy that actually over the last 3 years, we've hardly had any dickhead clients. And I've managed to learn how to like nip it in the bud quite quickly. If anyone's being unreasonable, I'm like, no, this is the case. And we've had a few difficult conversations, don't get me wrong, but most of them turn around. Like we had one who was just being a nightmare, to be honest. She was actually being a complete nightmare. And, you know, all of us were like, oh, we can't deal with her. And I just sent like really quite a firm response, and she sent one back and I sent another one back. And then eventually I said, look, I'm happy to come over to yours and we'll do everything in person, but you also do need to pay me for my time. And she agreed, which she didn't before, but she did. And then it all came out that she was going through a stressful time, and she apologized for how she was talking to me. And now we're working together on a new contract. Like it shows you that, again, I believe that open, honest, transparent conversation can only lead to good. Like if you're completely honest with people about how things are, then again, that leads to good stuff. And we've been like, this is our whole ethos. And I believe that everyone should do this. Even we had a potential client come to us and ask us for some examples of our work. And, I gave them examples of work and they go, oh, great. I actually know that company. I know a few guys at that company. Can you tell me who you dealt with? And, I'll go chat to them. And I went, yeah, sure. We dealt with X and Y. But, if you chat to them, they'll probably tell you actually it was quite a difficult project that we worked on. It didn't actually go well. We mutually terminated the contract because actually there were discrepancies with this and this. They weren't happy with us because of this. They were correct not to be happy with us. We weren't happy with them because of this and this. They were like, what the hell? You're telling us that this client wasn't actually happy with you? And I'm like, yeah, you might as well know, because you're going to find out if you speak to them, but this is what happened, but feel free to go get a reference from them. And they were like so shocked at that. And they were like, yeah, okay, you're hired. That's what happened. And they just hired us. And again, they're still our clients this day, and they've been with us a year and a half. And we believe that that's what it is, because they then trusted us that anytime something happens, we tell them the truth. We don't lie and sugarcoat it. What most agencies do, especially when it comes to websites, they make an excuse and make it sound all technical. Oh, this broke and this happened, and actually really it's your fault. But no, actually the agency fucked up, but they don't want to admit it, and so that's the difference. So.
It's so hard though, isn't it? Like going back, like we're exactly the same, and I can spot, Sabrina, amidst our new biz cycle and the process that we're running through with a client, when a client isn't right for us. I know really early doors if they're not right for us, if they're pernickety, if they're asking the wrong questions, they don't really get who we are. We are not going to change a business's pipeline overnight. We can try our best, and we do things like events that really help feed it, and we might get lucky, and out of those 20 meetings that we've booked for clients over the past week, there might be an RFP in there that they can respond to, and there's an opportunity straight away. Most of the time, it's a relationship approach where you're building it up. They'll be trying to create an opportunity, and they will get opportunities. But there is no kind of, quick fire solution often to what we do at Street. We work in demand gen, lead gen, marketing, whatever you want to call it, and we help people build relationships with prospects that are more likely to buy them, that are qualifying in, because we do a lot of work on people's value exchange and what their value proposition to market should be. So that's what we do. I know how it works. I do it for Street. I've done it my entire career. It isn't a quick, I need someone to bash out sales calls. So I know as soon as someone's going, I need opportunities tomorrow, we've messed up, we haven't done our marketing right, they're not right for us. They're not for Street, because I am not going to be bashing out sales calls, because that's not who we are. So you need to go and speak to someone else. And the same with clients that are pernickety, that are running through things that are, kind of building in on the wrong. I'm not saying that we're not detailed, we're not, but we are a more creative, marketing-led solution to creating sales opportunities. We are not a detailed, process-driven sales operation. So I can quite quickly spot the clients that are going to work really well with us, that are going to trust us, that are going to do a great job, and I will walk away from them. Now, there have been a couple of times, similarly to you, that I have taken on clients because I've been like, they're not quite the right fit, but I really need the money right now, and they really want to work with us, and I know they're going to sign. And that is really tough as an agency. So as you move forward, how are you going to make sure you don't do that?
Oh my God, it's so hard every time. But you know what? The thing is, like, I look back on it. In fact, I'm going to just briefly mention what you just said, because I totally feel your pain, because what you guys do as an agency is so hard, because so many people are going to expect instant results. They're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm paying you all this money, I expect to just be flooded with clients. But what you're doing is providing them opportunities. And these opportunities wouldn't have existed without your help. Like all these talks, like Joe Malone, all these big brands, they take time. They convert in like 6 months to a year or more sometimes. Like we've had leads convert 2 years later, but they wouldn't have converted without the initial opportunity. So that's what's really, really hard with your job. It's so slow burn, and it's the same with a lot of our marketing clients. For example, they'll come to us, but they want instant results, and anyone who thinks that it is instant. That's why we say straight from the get go. And I think it is about that transparency. It's like you just said, look, we're not about getting instant results. We're about opening those doors for you and creating those opportunities. You would never have the opportunity to speak to such heads of people and, you know, have those brands. But when it is not going to happen instantly. In fact, if it does, it's probably not going to last long. You want a longer, better quality relationship. And that's what it's about. I get it, but most people don't. And it's really bloody hard. And so, yeah, like it's so easy to just be like, okay, I want a quick win. And, you know, we've had that. We've got, again, luckily we have, you know, we've built up our SEO or whatever. People like our website and they come to us and go, we want to work with you. We've got lower budgets and you can tell the ones because you can tell like from an email who's serious about their work, right? So they'll come through and some people have like a really detailed brief and this is what we want to achieve, this is what we want to achieve. And some people just go, how much is a website? Like, I'm not joking. That is literally their one-liner. How much is a website? So obviously they're just price driven and they don't give a crap like about what you offer as an agency. They don't care who you are and they're never going to be the right people. So the reason why I'm going to now stay true to my word, and you're going to have to hold me accountable to this, but like, I think it's, if I look back at every time I compromised on those values, I truly look back at each of those experiences, 100% of those times, it's been crap. 100% I've been miserable. The team's been stressed. They've not enjoyed the work. And actually, if you look back on it financially, you usually make a loss on those projects because they're the ones who are, like you said, pernickety. They just like go back on every little detail. And, you know, we did have one. But okay, to be fair, we didn't realise how bad that was. It was lower price than I normally would, but it was supposed to be a one-pager and very, very, very cheap. It was cheap, but very easy. It was supposed to be a very easy project. One-page website, quick and easy. But the guy changed it like 6 times. And then they're so crafty. They always want this one-page website, but really they're combining like an 8-page website into one scrolling page. So actually it's as much work as, it's actually probably harder work than what 8 pages. And they're just trying to ram it into like one ridiculously long page. And then the guy was like really egotistical and was like, make my face bigger, make this. And then eventually when like, I think Zuckerberg releases little metaverse character, he's like, okay, I want a metaverse character of myself. Make me a 3D model. And I'm like, okay, that's not what we do. You're a creative agency. It says full service to service. And I'm like, are you actually kidding me? So, you know, you'll have people like that. And then again, he realized that we just didn't like it and we parted ways and that was fine. And again, like, I think I realized that it's really, I don't know how you found it, Katie, but as a woman, I find it harder as well because I don't think, I think you get more disrespected than you would do if you were a man. The way people speak to you. I get emails and I'm like, there is no way that a guy would have spoken to a man like that. There was absolutely no way. And the only way I've been able to survive is to basically write back like a man, to be really firm and like stern about it and be like, no, like this is how much we charge. If you want us to do the work, you pay us, and we're not starting until we do the work. And you know, like, and it's, you know, that's what it is, and you have to be just really, really strict. And I look back and yeah, every time I've ever taken on a client that I know wasn't right, we've lost money, the team's been sad, like it's been so detrimental to the business that I now know that I physically can't. I'd rather have 0 income come in than a few grand for the wrong client, because actually it sucks the morale, the mental health of everyone. Like it's just not good for anyone and it's way more detrimental. So I know that I can be quite firm on that now. And every client that comes to us, I actually now don't even see it as like we're competing for their work. I see it as they're competing to have us as an agency, because like we're really selective now and we don't want to have the wrong clients coming in. So it's actually, I'm more like, are they right for us, not the other way around, which I don't know if it's the right approach, but that's how we're being. And it's definitely done better for team morale for sure.
Totally, Sabrina. And we are exactly the same. I think there's, certainly in the last year, well, over the history of the business, I haven't always thought like that, but over the last year, I have always thought like that, but I've felt desperate at times and taken on the wrong clients, and that's where I've messed up. But my New Year's resolution to self, we should be doing check-ins, Sabrina, with each other, is to not do it again, because quite naturally, whether I've manifested it or what, I have no idea. We have got exactly the type of clients that I want to be coming to us moving forward. some of that is because we've done great work with other businesses who, have been working. We're doing a lot more in the MarTech space at the moment. So we're working with big, mainly American-based MarTech companies to, deliver their kind of new biz campaigns and help them with their demand gen, and build a lot more around events as well, which is definitely where we see the most success. It's always events, webinars. We always get the most leads and opportunities for our clients with the back of that. So naturally, I want to do more of the stuff that works, that's delivering, and we do a great job at that. And then it comes to you. So we, without even having to point the, needle in a different direction, our proposition, I think, is still right. We're attracting the right kind of people. So I do think I've just got to make sure, we don't traditionally work with kind of smaller agencies, or because one, they can't afford to spend thousands and thousands of pounds with us every month. Often they can't afford to wait. And it does, exactly like you said, it takes time. And I talk about this all the time. But I, as a small business, have invested in it because I know it's what I do. It's what I've always done, regardless of the size of that. I've worked for global drinks businesses like Pernod Ricard and Absolute, and who are, they've got some of the biggest drinks brands in the world. I've also worked at smaller agencies where there were 6 people and sat on the board. I've sat at middle-sized agency, and I've sat at huge networked agencies. I have sat on every level, and always, if you are pushing out insightful, helpful content, and you're doing it consistently, like I do with this podcast and our events and all the other insights and things that we give out for free that is helping people, then new business becomes so much easier. Now, most people don't want to put the time in. They can't be consistent because they're too busy, servicing their arsehole clients. And they're not able to give this the love, the attention, and the time that it deserves. And I can tell you now, this is easy for me. I get to show up and speak to amazing people like you. And I mean, I have literally loved our chat today, by the way, Sabrina, and we're not quite finished yet. No. But I get to speak to amazing people. I get to learn. I get to connect with people. I get, so many of my own personal, I guess, goals are fulfilled by doing this podcast. But I don't have to go out and hunt for new business. All I ever do is push out helpful content on LinkedIn, via email, really, and also on Instagram. Those are probably the 3 channels that I use. I just push helpful content out, and the amazing leads and the opportunities that I need come to me. Now, I'm not saying, for our clients, we work a lot harder to create those opportunities. I don't need to for Street, because the size of agency that we are, just under £1 million, I do not need, and maybe we will grow and I will need a lot more and I will have to get more salesy at some point. But I get probably 20 inquiries a month. Most of those we don't go after. We maybe qualify in on about 3 or 4 of those, because of course, although we've got a good value proposition, we do have agencies that come to us that want, that aren't nice people, that want something that we can't quite deliver, that aren't quite ready to buy and maybe just want to have an early chat, or are a freelancer. And I will speak to everyone, because I personally think I never know where that person's going to go. I like helping people. Why wouldn't I? But I don't need to, I don't need to do anything else. I literally can live off the content that I push out. Now, in year 1, that wasn't the same. I had to work a bit harder, but people don't want to put the time in. They want to go, we've worked with you for 6 months to do this, and then we've not seen the results. No, because you've done it for 6 months, mate. You need to do it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and you need to keep doing it, because if you stop, believe me, it's going to get harder again.
People do. I'm so glad you said that, because people do not get it. And like, that is basically how I am where I am now. And I feel like you were going back to when you were saying, when we spoke and we were like 4 to 6 people, I can't remember where we were, and we were just struggling because I was trying to follow all these formulas from like masterminds and all these kind of tutorials of agency growth bollocks, basically, that everyone seems to do, and every agency seems to do the same thing. And I'm just like, I was trying to be a really good student, so I was doing everything that it said, and it just didn't sit right with me. And our agency went out, and I did pictures and pictures and pictures. I think I bumped into you another night out randomly in the middle of Oxford Street or somewhere.
We did. What was that? I think I was recording a podcast at Soho. Soho Radio. Yeah.
I just bumped into you. And I think at that point I was saying that we'd lost every single pitch an entire year.
Yes, I remember you saying that. You were like, I can't come on the podcast because we're shit at pitching. I was like, well, maybe that's what we should talk about. I mean, we haven't talked about that at all.
No, we haven't. We should do a separate one of that because I can tell you my journey. But basically, I lost every single pitch in a year. And then I was like, and I was asking the people who were experts, what am I doing wrong? And they're like, oh, no, you're doing everything right. It just takes time. I was like, well, I'm obviously not doing everything right because I'm not winning any of these pitches. And then I was like, I can't deal with this. And this is what I'm saying, that this time last year, I felt like I wanted to pack it in. And I was like, right, I'm going to go back to how I was. And I went back to being me. And I realized that all the stuff I was doing just wasn't right for who we were. So I went back to thinking, who are we as Complex Creative? What do we want to achieve? Like, this no bullshit thing didn't correlate with the way that I was doing pitches and the things that I was going after. And it didn't sit right with us. So like you said about all that sort of content. So I went back to being me and I just started pushing content out. And I've been posting on LinkedIn as me and like not toning it down. I'm just being unapologetically me. And loads of people hate it. Fine, but loads of people love it. And since then, I've been doing content on there. Like we've been content on our website. I've doing our podcast, like, just putting stuff out there. And like you're saying, we were 4 to 6. We're now at 14 with hiring 2 more people. Like in a year, like that's mental. And all from just really organic stuff. We get 15 to 20 leads come to us a week. Not all of them are good, don't get me wrong, but that's a lot of leads. It's really nice to have a really healthy pipeline and be selective and be able to choose who we want from that. And since then, like even posting on LinkedIn, I'm currently just finishing the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program, which they selected me for. All those opportunities wouldn't have come if I hadn't have put that content out there and put myself out there as me. And again, I think that's the thing. It's that I'm not posting content because someone's told me to. I'm not doing it in a tone of voice because that's apparently what you should be doing. I'm just rocking up and being me. And people who like me will buy into that and recommend me, and brands who like, okay, I like what this person stands for, will work with us. And that's what we're about. I don't want to turn up and write in a stuffy way and like, be all putting content out there because everyone says to do it. That's not who we are. And also that's not what we do for brands as well. We're the same for brands. We will make sure they stand out for being them, not copying a competitor, because, and I'm so sick of that when we see people going, oh, but X person's doing this, we need to be like that. No, that's not what you need to be like. You need to be you. And you were saying like you didn't do it in year 1, fine. Year 2, year 3, now look at where you guys are and it's just coming to you. That's the same as how Stephen bloody Bartlett built up his brand. People don't even realize that. Look at him, he's a freaking dragon right now. He's like one of the country's richest entrepreneurs at, I don't even know, he's still under 30, isn't he? He's ridiculously young. But he started off just putting content on LinkedIn. People don't even realize that. Everyone's like, oh, it's an overnight success. Yes, you heard of him overnight. He was there for years and years and years, putting out content on LinkedIn or across social media. No one read it. No one cared. No one knew who he was, but he did it consistently and showed up all the bloody time. And now look at who he is. It takes time. You absolutely need to have patience. And yes, it's so stressful because we need to pay the bills. We've got staff to pay. We've got all this other crap that we have to deal with, energy crisis, what, God knows what, the world's falling apart. But there are no quick wins. There just aren't. No matter what people tell you, all those people coming into your, like, even people selling stuff, like, I guarantee to get you to number 1 on Google, bollocks. Like, I guarantee this, a guarantee. If you hear the word guarantee, it's usually a scam. Like there are no guarantees in marketing. And I can show you case studies of how we've done it almost every single time before and the growth, but there's still no guarantee because you cannot determine external factors and guarantee them. And so I just think that people just need to realize it comes down to patience as well. Patience, hard work and determination. And I think that, and passion for sure, like that's a recipe for success. And I think that all these things out there were saying, oh, you can manifest this, you can do that. At the end of the day, look at every success story. It comes down to hard work. It does. Like every single one of them does. I'm sorry, but all the kind of narrative on social media now about like, the work-life balance and sitting in Bali and just doing a few hours a day and suddenly you've got this amazing life. it's a load of crap. That's what they're showing you, part of the life. Every single success story. Take a look at all the documentaries on Netflix, all that sort of stuff about all these super, super famous people. They're hard grafting it every single day. That is the common denominator for every successful person. No matter what they tell you, hard work is the bottom line of everything.
I love that, Sabrina. Honestly, it's so true. We actually, no, but I love it. You're passionate and you're saying all the same things that I believe in, which I absolutely love. But we actually had Stephen's head of content, Grace Bartlett. Grace Bartlett, Stephen. Oh my God, got that wrong. Grace Andrews, Stephen Bartlett's head of content. There we are. Sorry, I've just married you off, Grace and Stephen, just in case if you had it here first, word on the street. Yeah, you had it here first. But she talked about all of that really openly. We kept doing it. We got stuck for about 2 years. Even when they started the podcast, they were stuck at just a few thousand listeners every single month for 2 years. And then it started. And then now it's about those marginal gains. What extra things can they do? But it's so, so, so true. And the other thing that I absolutely love, and I can tell you this from practicing it myself, and this is what literally kills me about some of our clients, and I'm really going to talk to some of them next week, is authenticity, showing up and being a person. People buy people. If you're working, most agencies, in fact, all agencies are B2B. We are businesses trying to get work with other businesses, but we are also people trying to get work from other people that are going to buy us. So show up as a person. You will come across in a much more buyable way. People will warm to you. They'll build engagement with you. They'll trust you, rather than, oh my God, when you were talking, I was just thinking, and I've seen a lot of these, let's say like older people in our industry, usually men, sadly, they send out these fucking LinkedIn things. Oh, just keeping you up to date on what I've been doing over the last 6 months or this year. Here, this. If I can help you in any way. Oh, fuck off. Get out of my inbox. It's bullshit. I've just had 20 of those this week. I do not want to see it. It's boring. It's shit. I don't want it in my inbox. Sorry. This is a real strong ending.
You felt that 5 minutes ago listening to my
Yeah, but it's so true. Like, honestly, guys, it doesn't come across as authentic because I've had another 20. Someone has told you that you need to email everyone in your LinkedIn and tell them about what you've been doing and how they can buy you. There's better ways that you can tell people how to buy you. I even see it on like Instagram. People are like, sometimes it's nice that, I've had loads of new followers. I just want to tell you a bit more about me, because sometimes it's quite interesting. If I follow someone that I haven't really learnt their backstory, that's nice. But if you do it and it sounds like because it's so obvious you're trying to sell something, and it's so obvious that someone's told you to do it, I don't want to see it. Maybe that's because I'm educated and I work in this space, but in my industry, I'm marketing to marketeers, so I've got to be smart. And that to me does not cut the mustard. And when we host events for clients, the clients turn up. They know that we're trying to get work with them. But they still turn up if it's interesting. And we had a client, a really big financial institution, one of the biggest in the world, turn up. And it was, a C-suite person from this company turned up to an amazing dinner that we hosted somewhere really, really cool for a client. We do all the venue selection. We came up with the proposition, the messaging for the event. We take all the stress out of doing it. And the guy from this company was like, I get so many emails about events like this, and yours really stood out. You positioned it really, really well because we did something different. The client was brave enough to let us approach things slightly differently. We got them really good cut through. We could have filled the space 3 times over with C-suite people in the businesses that they wanted, because they let us do our job. But so many clients just don't, and they have such high expectations and it doesn't work. And you're like, yeah, I can tell you why it doesn't work, because you didn't let us do this. You changed these emails. You didn't like the messaging we came up with, and you thought yours was better, but yours is shit. And then it's us that's in trouble because they basically wouldn't listen to us. Anyway, sorry. I feel this is like, Sabrina, I feel like we could do, we're now over an hour, so I am going to wrap it up. But I actually feel like we could just have like a Katie and Sabrina podcast where we where we just chat once a month. I love this.
You should. I really want to do a series on LinkedIn where it's like I used to do it on Clubhouse, but I feel like that died a while ago.
Yeah, it kind of did, didn't it?
an agency therapy session where like you just chat about like real chat, none of this bollocks about like, you know, like I can't stand agency owners who just go, yeah, life's great, we're doing this, this and this. No, real talk. Like, are you struggling? And if you are, that's fine. Let's talk about it. Let's find a solution and let's just get it out there. Because actually, if you're honest about stuff, you can get a real answer. If you're there like faking it all the time, you're never actually going to get help for all the problems that you're hiding. So like actually showing up and being honest is only going to be good for you, because that's how you find opportunities. I was so vulnerable and honest a year ago when we were struggling, and some people thought it was the most awful thing ever, and I looked, my business was struggling, blah blah, but actually I had some amazing people turn up and be like, actually I did this when I was in your position. Have you tried this? Or I can introduce you to so-and-so. And even just talking to that person for an hour because they understood what I was going through was great. I'm a solo founder. And as you know, like it's bloody difficult sometimes. You just need to talk to someone. All those little things, because I posted and was honest on LinkedIn, transformed my business. Like, so it literally helped me because I was honest about it. Lying is not going to help anyone. And like, you know, I just feel like, is it really going to help you knowing that you lied your way to get this business anyway? Do you actually feel good about yourself? And if you don't feel guilty, then you're probably a disgusting person anyway, and there's no hope for you. So that's how I feel. So, that's me.
So true. Oh, Sabrina, honestly, I want to just talk to you all day. Like I have had the best time on this podcast. Listeners, I hope everyone listening that you have enjoyed it as much as I have. I think you will. It's been a really, really good fun, and we've unpacked loads of stuff. I hope we've given you guys enough ideas of what, well, I think we've given you enough ideas of what not to do, but things that you can go and implement as well. And watch this space, because I think me and Sabrina, I'm hoping this isn't going to be our last podcast for sure, but then maybe there's going to be other things. I love it. Sabrina, a big thank you for joining me today.
No problem. It's been my pleasure.
So, oh my gosh, isn't Sabrina just amazing? I absolutely loved today's chat, and sorry if I did get a bit overly passionate, as I think Sabrina did too, about certain subjects, but it just shows hopefully how much we care. And I'm sure that some of the challenges and the things that we spoke about are probably challenges you guys are facing as well. So I really hope we've given you some helpful insights rather than just ranting. I am actually going to listen back to this one, which I don't often do, to be honest, guys, and just check in. But yeah, I'm sure there's going to be lots of gems and things that you can take away as well, and hopefully it makes a good fun and slightly different listen to normal. As well as that, of course, if you did like today's podcast, I'm actually going to pop my LinkedIn profile and Sabrina's LinkedIn profile in the show notes, which we don't always do. Please go and give me a follow. The reason I'm doing that, not just to gain followers, although that would be nice if you like today's podcast and want to follow me on LinkedIn and you don't already, please do so. But actually, I'm going to give you more than that, because Sabrina and I, it will probably have already started by the point that we've done this, are going to start doing a kind of Wednesday marketing agency type therapy session live on LinkedIn. So if you follow us and you ask to get notifications when we go live, you can join the session and talk to us rather than just listen to us. So I hope you enjoyed the session. Do give me a follow on LinkedIn, subscribe to my alerts on LinkedIn, and I'm not going to ask you to do anything else, because as we all know in marketing, you should only ever give people one call to action. So that's your call to action, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, night, afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world. And I hope that you come back and listen to me here, or come and see me. No, I hope you come and see me on LinkedIn live soon.